All right, so as I was explaining concerning the wiring harness and the gauges, so we need to understand that it's not just to bypass a system. So you can come and have a look at what a roadside rewire was trying to do here. Now, this is what you call the relays. Now, let me show you something real quick. Right here in my system, you can see this is a diagram of the fuse box of this car, and I have right here the gauge graphics. That is, I have to know what wires I can use if I am to actually use any wire gauge. So I can't just come in here and use a bigger wire for a smaller wire. I'm going to cause a lot of resistance in the circuit. Now, a lot of people don't really understand the 12 volt system, and I think they don't really understand the Ohm's law. So here is my Ohm's calculator, and we have a 15 amps fuse which is a supply to this circuit. So you can come also closer and see the wiring diagram. These are what we do right here because we want to be very professional about it. So you have a 15 amps injector fuse that supplies to this circuit. Right here we are going to trace out where the 15 amps fuse is. Just give me a minute while I scroll through to get the fuse and get that fuse out. So you have a 15 amps fuse injector ing right here. Okay, oh sorry, that should be on the BCM. That should be on the BCM. So here it is. So this is right under the dash. There's a fuse box right under the dash, and right here you can see clearly 15 amps fuse, 15 amps fuse. Here is the amperage, and we need to do a pure calculation. We have voltage calculator. We know that it's a 12 volt system. What's the amperage is 15. We can do the calculation, and here we have 0.8 resistance. So when you go right on that system, you plug in all your circuits and you measure for ohms. So this is the calculation for ohms. Measure your ohms. You should have a 0.8 ohms for resistance on that circuit. So right here you can see that we definitely want to give what you call proper diagnosis, fitting to check all the systems in the car. And when you now have a different gauge wire, so it's a very simple system. The way I explain electrical or electronics is just like you have a water tank that is supplying water from the water source, and you now have a bigger pipe, and you know the bigger pipe the lower pressure, the smaller pipe the higher pressure. So it's still the same principle that adheres to the electrical system. So it's depending on how much flow of current from the battery to the wiring system. So if you have a bigger wire to a smaller wire, you cause excess resistance, and most of the time you have fire outbreak because there is excess heat in the wiring system. It's either is going to repel or it's going to adjust to the way the system is and damage that circuit. Now, right as I was explaining earlier about this wiring system, there is no ground in this circuit. Ground is like your negative. You don't have ground in this circuit. So for you to understand what I meant by ground, you can come here, and I want to show you what a continuity system looks like. So if I put it right here, now you can see that there is continuity, meaning that this is ground. So what the rewire is actually looking out for is the ground. There is need for ground in this system, but instead of investigating why there isn't a ground in that circuit, he had to bypass it and feed the ground directly into the relay. And these mishaps are what we see every day in our workshop. We get this report of lack of professionalism, lack of educational tutorials, ideas. A lot of technicians just believe that for you to bypass the system, it as long as it's working. Also, the fuse. This is a fuse that was actually broken. The fuse is broken, but look at the lack of unprofessionalism. This is what they used in actually making the continuity on the fuse. For me to show you that this fuse is broken, you could see right here. I want to test the fuse if it's actually broken. Right here, you can see there is no continuity, but I have continuity here. But right here, there is no continuity. There isn't any continuity. Now, this was what the rewire or the so-called electrician is trying to achieve, trying to create continuity. Now you have continuity, but the problem here is he was creating an excessive resistance on the circuit. So if we're supposed to have, just as the way I explained, if we're supposed to have 0.8 ohms on that circuit, we might have a higher resistance on that circuit, and that circuit might not function to the way the manufacturer actually designed the vehicle to function. Take for example your ignition coil, which is what we are actually battling on this field here. On this field here, we have, this is an ignition coil circuit, and we were supposed to have this is a 12-volt system. We're supposed to have a ground, our ignition signal, voltage reference, and ground. So it's a 4-wire system, and which is what we have here with a color code. So right here, what we do is professionalism. We have the top-notch tool, softwares and accessories to make sure that this vehicle comes top-notch. And by the time we're done, because we are going to be changing the wire harness, make sure your wire harness is coated. It's always coated. This is the wire harness coat. The coat is meant to resist excess heat in the engine room, and I believe a lot of vehicle owners don't really understand the necessity of looking out for any little errors in their vehicle. So what I believe, or what I feel, is you take your vehicle to your mechanic after watching this video, have them assess your wiring harness to see if there is no area, if there is an area that is open and adheres to excess adheres to the manufacturer's specification on the wiring system. So this wire is open and it's prone to damages from heats, whatever things that might have occurred in the area that has damaged this wiring system, because the more the heat, the more resistance it becomes and gets a bit really thicker and start breaking up inside. So I want you to also keep an eye on this project, and while we change the wire harness, we'll give you a feedback right there.